Our story began at the very end of student life, in the last year, in the last semester. The acquaintance happened thanks to a mutual friend. Classmates brought our paths together. From the first date, tender and sparkling, we felt a deep connection, feeling that our lives would be closely intertwined, as if by magic. Our communication was easy, relaxed, and did not require formal meetings. We just lived together. You could say she came to live with me with her toothbrush and the cute trinkets that decorated our common life so much. Her youth was pure and untouched, and after a couple of weeks of dating, in an atmosphere of tenderness and mutual attraction, we became closer than ever. She had one affair with a guy from school that lasted a couple of years. We didn't have much time, only 5 months. But in this short period of time, we managed to go through many trials that only strengthened our love. I went to my city to get a driver's license, a prerequisite for joining the Army as a signalman. She visited me, coming for short visits filled with tenderness and longing for our meetings. Of course, it was not without difficulties. Grace's smoking habit irritated me. After all, I have always been a gentle person, but she resisted, saying that she had the right to her own life and could do whatever she wanted. But soon such arguments stopped, because I explained that now this is not her life, but ours, and we have to take care of each other. She, as a guardian angel, was always there, helping in everything. But when it came to bad habits, Grace stubbornly defended her positions, as if afraid of losing a part of herself. Escorting me to the Army, she, like a little sorceress, uttered a spell full of faith and tenderness. "I will wait for you." Her words, steeped in love, were not just a promise for me, but a bridge spanning kilometers of separation to the future that we had to build together. Far from her, amid the harsh discipline of the Army, her vow became my talisman. Full of love and care, Grace was like a breath of fresh air to me, filling me with strength and hope. She came to my every dismissal, traveling a couple of hours by train to see me, like the sun breaking through the clouds. She had relatives in the city where the unit was located, and she always stayed with them to be close. Around me, my colleagues were pining, receiving letters from girls who, like autumn leaves, withered in their hands. Dozens, if not hundreds of guys remained broken, abandoned by their lovers. But I was happy to be one of the few who retained love and loyalty. I felt that our bond was like steel, indestructible. However, after the Army, like a hurricane, a cold wind of change burst into our lives. Grace became different, more independent, as if she had gone through fire and water. In an instant, our love broke like a crystal jug. Grace said she couldn't be with me anymore, that life had made her stronger and taught her to solve her problems on her own. I was confused, like a little child abandoned in a big alien world. What was I supposed to do? Escape from the Army? I accepted her decision, resigned to the bitter truth, because there were too many examples of breakups around me, and I didn't want to add my sadness to the general sadness. But still, the pain of parting was deep, because I believed that she was the one with whom we would go through life hand in hand. A couple of months later, she wrote herself, admitting that she was tired of work and family worries. She needed a break, and she decided to come to me. We spent a few days together, had sex. Back in her city, Grace confessed that she couldn't imagine life without me. I moved her to my place, where I had a good, stable job that allowed us to lead a comfortable life. We got married, and our happiness, like an ancient mighty oak, took root in the soil of mutual love, having survived all the storms and trials. But despite all the benefits that I gave her, she longed for her city, for her roots. We decided to move, dreaming of a bigger place where she could reach her potential, grow and develop. However, there were not enough engineering vacancies in the big city we were aiming for, the ones that were paid much less than I was getting at my current job. Our plans crumbled like a sand castle from the tide. She would have to work too, so that we could maintain our usual standard of living. I was desperately looking for a suitable job, but I didn't find anything acceptable. She offered to live with her parents, but I stubbornly refused. It would be a painful experience for me, equivalent to returning to a childhood that was deprived of freedom and independence. Grace was the ideal in my eyes. She took care of me, made our house cozy, turning it from a simple dwelling into a place where you want to live, not just exist. I've never liked cooking, and her food was delicious, like in the best restaurants. In conversations, she was always on my side, openly expressing her opinion, even if it was different from mine. She was honest and open, always telling me where she was going, what she was doing, who she was meeting. I was honest with her too, and in all the time we were together, we didn't have a single quarrel. However, to my horror, there were drastic changes in her character. Grace became nervous, broke down from scratch, cried, broke dishes, was jealous of me for no reason. When I returned from a business trip, I never cheated on her and gave her no reason to be jealous, but Grace still cried and screamed, as if in a terrible dream. As it turned out later, her nervousness and strange behavior were the result of deep longing for home, friends, and family. She was bored and lonely in a strange city. Every day her stress increased until one day, during a visit to her family, she burst into tears and confessed that she could no longer live with this secret. Grace said that I treat her very well, but she's lying to me that she's a monster. I asked her what kind of monster she was, and she tearfully confessed that she cheated on me when we weren't married yet, while I was in the Army. She said that immediately after my departure in December, her ex contacted her in January, and they sort of accidentally started living together. She lived with him and slept with him periodically, while she continued to write letters to me and come on dates, claiming that she did not want to aggravate my difficulties in the Army. By May, they broke up, and she realized that he was not her man, that only I was needed. Their relationship lasted about 3 months. Then she led her arguments as to why she had changed. We talked and realized that our relationship had turned into a meaningless mess. In the late winter and early spring of 2012, she lived with him. We separated by mutual consent and stopped all communication. In October 2013, when I was on a business trip, we met once, but in the spring of 2013, we finally broke up. I realized that I couldn't do to her the same way she did to me, but our relationship then turned out to be not what I expected. When I went to study in another city, Grace went to see him again, saying that she needed to clarify the situation somehow. To be honest, I still don't understand exactly what points she meant. According to her, since she told me about the betrayal, there is no point in hiding that a year later she cheated on me again. But I can't understand why it was necessary. Wasn't what was said when I was in the Army enough? Or she could have done with a simple message like, "Don't write to me," but decided to leave. What for? She cannot give a clear answer to this question, only repeats that she does not know and does not understand. Here are her words. Think about it. I've told you everything. Would I hide anything after I admitted the truth? I realized that her conscience was secretly corroding or something else. It did not allow her to hide the truth and forced her to confess. She admitted that she wanted to be completely honest and tell me everything that prevented her from being completely open with me. And so she told me. I mentioned earlier that she began to have nervous exhaustion, and after the confession, she literally burst out. Panic attacks began. She became constantly nervous and afraid of everything. Grace turned to a psychotherapist, and she was prescribed a long course of medications, including strong sedatives, which are used for serious depression. The course has been going on since August, and she has definitely gotten better. Many strong drugs have already been removed. She still visits a therapist once a month, but the panic attacks still remain. For example, now she is afraid to stay alone in the apartment, falls asleep in panic because of the darkness. She is afraid of any noise. It used to be the same, but now everything has escalated at times. At the moment, she is worried that I will leave her and says that she was ready for this when she decided to tell about the betrayal. I understand that it was a long time ago. It happened 6 to 7 years ago. when we were not married yet. If she had told me then, our relationship probably wouldn't have continued. I think it's very difficult to establish a relationship, as well as to find a person who understands you. Grace understands and compliments me, but what she has done does not fit into my head. Now she claims that she had a different character then, and she was a different person. When we started dating again during my studies for a month, I asked her, why did she go to see him again when we had already started dating? The goal was sex. It all lasted maybe 5 to 7 minutes. I was in jeans and a sweatshirt. But at some point I realized that I couldn't do this to you, to myself, to us, and left. We both realized that this was not what we wanted and broke up. No one left anyone. And once a year I reminded myself that it was the right decision.